Okay, moving on, going back to let's talk about Revelation. And again, I was reading Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. I've read it so
Yeah,
many times. And so in Revelation, there are not two beasts, but actually three.
goes
Again,
through.
you
Yeah,
have Vespasian and Titus as two beasts, but also there's another beast that's not really named. So if Vespasian is the first, Titus is the second beast, who or what is the third beast?
it'd be Domitian. You're dealing with a trinity, and it would be kind of the sort of template to understand this with would be basically the Gospels themselves, where you have God the Father, the Son of God,
Mhm.
right? These are, if you look at, for example, the baptism of Jesus, right, where you have this story where the God the Father is there and he's happy, with Jesus, and then you have this character, the Holy Spirit, is also available. So you
Mhm.
have a Trinity that is described in the ministry of Jesus, which, if you just think about what this could mean in terms of the prefiguration typology the authors are creating with the story of Jesus, it's a way of talking about Domitian. He's not, I mean, Domitian is not in Judea during the war.
Mhm.
Vespasian was at the beginning, and of course, Titus, during the whole campaign. But Domitian is characterized as the Holy Spirit, or this floating kind of thing that is somehow involved in the Godhead. I mean, the Trinity is just a ludicrous concept, and
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
idea that it would somehow come out of monotheistic
Yeah.
Judaism
Exactly.
is silly. But they people just accept it as because it's in the
Mhm.
story. But
Yeah.
the fact is, what really has generated these characters is, in fact, the fact that they're writing about the divine Caesars, these three
Mhm.
Caesars. So if you understand that the Gospels were produced by the Flavian court,
Mhm.
then these characters become easy to understand. Now, Revelation, because it is a much more complicated kind of typology than the really straightforward, simple typology in Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Mhm.
It's much more difficult to understand. A reader has to be pretty grounded in Caesar's Messiah to take
Mhm.
on my analysis of Revelation, because what they were doing is they're using building block style of writing, where
Mhm.
Domitian, he's creating his own religious literature, just like Vespasian and Titus did earlier. Once they have passed away, Domitian, I presume, is now looking at the story of Jesus Christ, and he goes, "Well, I'm not very well represented here in this story. We'll make another story."
Mhm.
And he comes up with Paul and that kind of typology, and then also Revelation, which is has a lot of connections into Suetonius's A Life of Domitian, and I show
Mhm.
them in Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. But much of the analysis of Revelation is just incredibly complicated, and it's also has a very vulgar and vicious kind of humor. Domitian strikes me as being crazy, frankly, based on his
Mhm.
literature. So. Um, I it's comprehensible to someone who's read Caesar's Messiah, but I in Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, I put a lot of in the preface written by Jerry Russell and myself. We put a lot of energy in just trying to explain typology, so that when you get to the analysis in Shakespeare and also into Revelation, you can see you're dealing with the many of the connections are probably not even designed to have only one way of understanding them. I mean, these
Mhm.
these people who are coming up with this literature, Revelation, are extremely sophisticated. They have a kind of
Mhm.
humor that they enjoy, which I'm not sure a normal person would. And so, frankly, it's not particularly clear to me who they're writing Revelation for. They seem to be writing it just as a method of declaring that Christianity will be discovered.
Mhm.
The origin will be discovered. The Flavian origin of Christianity. In other words, eventually the Gospels will be decoded, and then the world will see that the Flavians created the religion. and then there'll be some chaos, and also a kind of a revelation, a revealing
Hmm.
of the origin, and this will create the legacy that the Flavians were interested in. Um, the hardest thing to understand about the Gospels and Revelation is that the political purpose of the religion is clear enough, right? It's
Hmm.
very easy to understand. But there is another purpose for this literature, which is almost impossible for the modern reader to understand, and that is that it's a vanity genre. That what the Caesars are doing is they are basically declaring themselves as man gods, and they want a kind of divine legacy,
Hmm.
even though they to get it, they have to reveal this evil lie that they've spun. They could care less. They just want to be remembered. So